Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the last of this term's AOC Sport webinars on utilising Google Classroom. My name is Rachel Walker, and I am the Policy and Projects Officer for AOC Sport in the North. And I'm really pleased that we are supported today by Darlington College, Wayne Hall, who is the EdTech demonstrator for Darlington, and two members of sport and outdoor education staff, Simon James and Richard Longstaff. Thank you very much for agreeing to help us out. And I think that is all from me. If you have any questions as we go along, please pop them in the chat and we'll try and monitor them. But Wayne, it's over to you.
Thank you very much. As Rachel mentioned there, Darlington College is one of the now 50 EdTech demonstrator schools and colleges across the country. We're based up in the northeast. We're a party of another 3 schools, and between us we cover, at the minute, I'm looking after around about 50 different schools and colleges, helping them to get to grips with educational technology. So this is why Rachel reached out to us to see if we can offer some support around sport. Now, I teach business and computing, so I wasn't the correct person to deliver this, so I've roped in Richard and Simon, who no doubt will get me back at some other date in the future. So I'll hand over to those two now. I think Simon's going to present a rough guide around Google and tools and how he's using it, and then there's a live activity with Richie in the middle. But as Rachel said, if you've got any questions, just drop them in the chat, and we'll get to those.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. Thanks for bigging us up. It's fantastic. So like we were saying, yeah, please, if you have anything that you want to ask, just please ask, because this is a two-way thing. Hate lectures, so please, if you want to ask something, just have your mic on. Just let me know. So I'm going to talk about some of the apps that we use in your Google type of your platform. So obviously every teacher would have objectives. So these are mine that I want to try and hopefully meet end of our session. So one of the main things I want to talk about, all of the apps that we tend to use in Google. These will obviously be your docs and your sheets and your slides, as well as also your Google, your Drive and classrooms that we kind of always use as extra tools, as well as all the apps. I'm going to quickly show you how we use all the apps to help us in the classroom, how to assess the work, how to help all the students as well, work in groups. That really helps us online as well. Helped us last year during lockdown, and we're just going to quickly show you how those things work and how we use them. And the final thing, I'm sure where I'll use work, you'll have to, you've got SVs and other external agencies, how to share the work with, with some of the external agencies, if you've got SVs or if you've got external examiners, especially in sports coaching videos, they tend to be quite a big size, and it's always a hassle to post them out to the SVs. Well, obviously this is a good way to kind of share some of the files. So, like I mentioned earlier, some of the things that we use are just, I'm sure, some of the things you already use. So, the things like your docs and your slides and your sheet and your chat and your meet. Again, you tend to use these around all of your platforms. So even as you might Microsoft, you might have Word and you might have Excel. These are just normally similar things to what they have on those platforms and those apps. But one of the reasons why we use these apps rather than using the Word, Excel, and everything else, some of the reasons that are shown below. One of the things I like is is if I use any kind of docs, all your work is saved. So no matter what you do on docs, every word you type, if your PC all of a sudden goes off, something like that, all your work is already saved in Google Drive. Now, it's a big thing for all of your students, for when they're typing assignments up, if they've done 1,000 words and then all of a sudden their mate next door all of a sudden thinks it's a laugh and he turns his computer off, all his work's gone. If it's in Word, very rarely saved or backed up. So one of the reasons why we use docs is that all the work is always saved all the time. One other reason as well is that it's very easy to annotate the work as well on docs. So every time I mark a piece of work, if I review a piece of work, or perhaps if I have a report, I always make annotations, because SVs and external examiners really like annotations. And when you make annotations, well, it's always time and date stamped on your docs. So the examiner or the external examiner or the SV knows exactly when you've assessed that piece of work, you've marked it, and you made all the annotations on there. So it has a date stamp and it has a time stamp, which makes it reliable when you start to kind of mark some of the work. I can see within that 14-day window to mark the work. The other thing I really like as well is it can be shared amongst groups. So if all your groups are working in a team, maybe teams of 4 or 5, and you ask them to go away and to research a piece of work, that work can be shared to everybody in your team. That means that everybody can have an input, rather than one person doing all the work and all the rest of them just sat back. Everybody has an input. So this is just an example of a piece of work that I would normally use on docs. So this is some work, it's an assignment that's been handed in to me. I think it's handed in this week. So obviously the learner's name's up on there, so I can see he was online when he was doing it. It tells me when I was making edits to the work. So this is what I'm on about, where in terms you can always make some marking annotations. So it has a date stamp, has a time stamp, so the examiner or the SV knows that it's been marked within a certain time frame. It's not being marked in a month's time or 8 weeks' time. It's being marked in a good time. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the bit I love, is your share button. So we can share that piece of work to somebody else, or like I said, if it's a blank, perhaps an assignment task or like a piece of work, I can share that with different groups so that they can work on that exactly at the same time. And I can always see while he's doing his assignment, I can always have a look in there and just see exactly how he's doing. So I might look on there saying, right, okay, references, you kind of really want some of your references in there. I can't see none of them, whatever, and that might spare them on to maybe do some research and include references kind of in there. So that's why we use docs rather than using Word. We kind of like this application a bit better. Coming on to the next app then that we tend to use all the time, which is the slides. So again, I'm sure you might have used this application as well as a PowerPoint presentations. No matter all assignments in sport, we always get presentations. We always allow them to do presentations. I think it's a great way to get everybody up and to do, to be working in a team, in a group, public speaking. I think it's fantastic to put these in the assignment. But one of the reasons why we use this, why we tend to use the slides rather than using PowerPoint, is, again, all the work's already saved onto Google Drive. So if you lose any work, or if you think you've lost it, you haven't lost it. It's just saved on your Google Drive. Again, you can work as a team in these. So normally when we give assignments out, it's normally working in groups. Or if you want to set a task, you can have them working in groups. And again, feedback can be really direct. So you can actually feed any work back as they're doing it, which is fantastic. So this is just another example of kind of one of the assignment tasks, or like a written task that I would set a group. And as you can see there, there's 3 learners working on the same presentation at the same time, which is fantastic for us. Because again, it just means that there's not one learner doing it and all the rest of them are just sat about on the phones. Everybody needs to have an active input in this. So how we do that, we just share that to how many learners you want to share it to. And then each of them will have access to, all of the slides, all the presentation, to put their own actual information in there. What we tend to do to the learners is we say, okay, well, you get in your team, you have to organise who's doing what. So you'll have one person say, well, I'll talk about the aims and, whatever. someone else will say, well, I'll talk about, you know, if it's this example, I'll talk about perhaps all the skills of the sport. You know, have another learner saying, I'll do this, I'll do that. So then they try and work in teams and delegate some of the work, which is, you know, which is fantastic learning for us. Helps them as well. Also help during lockdown as well, because you're not going to get everybody in the same household, so they can still work on the assignment even if they're at home in different households, because you can link them into the assignment presentation, so they can still work on that at the exact same time. So I can move it as well. So if I need to share that with an examiner, I can just move it into my shared file that I share with the SV or the EV, and he can have access to this work. He can see when I've marked it. He can see what type of feedback I'm going to be giving all the learners. So again, it makes it quite, you know, an authentic piece of work, official piece of work, especially when you're going to share it with the examiners and SVs. Coming on to Meet. Again, this is what we use. I know you guys mentioned earlier about, you know, how fast it works. It is a good tool. Tend to use these a lot last year during lockdown. I suppose it's another method of kind of having you face to face, even though you're not really face to face, but it's just another method of having face to face. One of the reasons why we use this is that we tend to record some of the teaching as well. So I've just got a little link there. I've done some work with the with my Middlesbrough FC lads during the summer, and they were in lockdown, so they were at home. And I asked them, I was doing anatomy at the time, and I asked them to tell me about the flow of the flow of your blood around the heart to your body, back to the heart again. So I'll just quickly show you that. I'm hoping it's going to work. It should do. Fingers crossed. Okay, so we'll start with Henry.
Cardiovascular system. This is the system of how the blood is pumped throughout the heart. The oxygenated blood comes through the vena cava. After this, the blood comes to the right atrium, which then goes to the tricuspid valve. And then goes to the right ventricle. And through the pulmonary artery. It's then oxygenated now in the lungs. Which is followed up by going through the pulmonary vein. It's then put through the left atrium. And then through the bicuspid valve. After that, it goes through the left ventricle. Why do you need to put through the aorta? Via the vena cava. The blood is now being oxygenated, and now this cycle repeats consistently.
Okay, so you know, that's just one of the you know, many uses it has got. It's a quite a raw example, but it just allows kind of you to assess knowledge across everyone's household, and you can record that. And I could send that off to the SV. I could say that, look, as they've talked about, you know, the heart and its blood and how it's, you know, doing all of the cycles of your blood, and that's just a really just another method for kind of like how we do that, for doing that. Are we still presenting? Yes, we are. Fantastic. Okay, so I think we're going to have a live example now from Richard. So I'll hand over to him.
Can you stop presenting, Si?
Yeah, I will do.
I can probably present over the top of you, actually. No, I don't think I can. Nope.
I'll stop presenting.
That's it, that's cool. Si and Wayne, I've just sent you, you've got an email link to a document, and you should also have an invite on your chat through a group called AOC. Can you check for us, please?
Okay. I can't see an email, Richie. I don't think I've got an email.
The email should be a share to do with the, if you go to my shared documents and Google Drive site, it should be in there.
Yeah.
For a slide, same for Wayne, but you should have received an email about it as well. And if you go into Google Chat, you should, I've got Wayne not on yet. All right, so I'm going to start presenting, guys. guys and ladies? Should we say that okay? And there we are. Can everybody say that okay, folks? Fabulous. So I'm going to try and take you through kind of step by step what I do to start with. I'm aware that some of you will be very experienced with this, but then after that, try and show you some of the ways that I'm using Google Meet at the moment. So to start with, we're normally in Google Chat, and we've already invited, if you can see this room I've called AOC, there's a number of rooms I've got there full of students, so you can see some of the kind of ideas I've got there. Go back down to the AOC. If you want to reuse a group regularly, if you click on that, you can pin that to the top, so that becomes almost a favorites group, that's all. Okay, so once everybody's in that group and they're active, it's difficult to see if they're actually physically active until you see a green dot. When are you actually on chat at the moment? Can't hear you. Star Wars time.
Yes, I'm in there now.
You're on there now, yeah.
I'm in there now.
Si, are you?
Yes, I'm on there, Richie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you, lads. Okay, so I've just created a meet by clicking that button there, which is for the video. There's a number of other options, and the video meet is there. So when I click on that, it's going to open the meet, so we can start from there. At the minute, it says there's nobody else there. If Si or Wayne decide to join this ahead of me starting it, they'd be sitting there waiting for me, so their names would show up. So you can now see a secondary image of me on a video. You should be able to. Is that right? Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of not looking at the screen because I've got two screens. It gets confusing at this point. Okay, right. So I should now have, coming into this, Wayne and Simon. Can you see that link, lads, and copy in?
Do you want me to join that video meet?
That video meet, please, yeah.
Yep. Okay, I'm in there now.
Back if you turn your mic off on this one. It's okay. Right, that's sorted that out. So both your mics might when your mic's still active, that's cool. That's all right. So this is an example of what it would look like at the moment, just exactly the same as what we've got here. So we start off with a video with everybody active, and obviously the number of tiles, etc. It depends on the number of students. Down the right hand side, you can see, can everybody still hear me okay? Yeah, cool. Because I've done a trick which I'll show you in a second. So that shuts that screen up but allows me to still talk to you. So what you can see on here, there's a register. Now I'm going to delete the existing register with a little help from Wayne. You can make that appear or disappear using the green tick. I've just found out this from Wayne today. Deleting the group. Wayne, can you give us a hand? Delete all the names in the class. There we are. So now these are the people that are currently in this meeting. So if you want to keep a register of the students that are at your meeting, that will actually create a register for you. I found this is handy because, especially before Google Meet started to improve their tiling system, quite often you weren't sure exactly who was in the meeting, and students would drop in and drop out. Now we've got around about 16 or so in the tile. You can pretty much see everybody that's in your class, but having this register is a backup plan. What I used to do actually is print screen and then save the image into Google Paint or something like that, and then annotate it with the date, and that would be sort of a made memoir for me. Okay, so now we've got the video going. What I might say in the chat section, just close that down a second. Let's see in the chat section, let's get rid of that, is I might say down the bottom, welcome gents, and I might say, please can you go to your shared file in G Drive. Okay, so the file that I've shared is a Google slide, and you can see immediately I've got Wayne there, his little face. And I'm waiting for Si to pop up. I'm not sure if Si's found it yet, have you? Doesn't matter if you can't find it, Si, I'll just work with
No, I haven't found it. Sorry.
Sorry, it should be in your shared. I'll just check. I've shared it with you. Yeah, you're on there as shared as an editor, so I don't know why it's not working. So what I can do, if that's the case, is I can copy a link, close that down just by clicking away, come back to the meeting, and then I can just paste that into there. And Si should be able to click on that link, and it should take him there, hopefully. So one thing I've found is there's a lot of workarounds within this process that you kind of have to come across those mistakes in order to find the solution sometimes. And there are lots of workarounds. If you've got students that can't find a link, there are lots of ways to share it with them. One of which is Facebook, which I'll show you in a second. Are you on now, Si? Hey, he's there. Okay, so I've now got access to two things. One, I can see the students working. There they are, studiously working. You can see who's the most studious here, with all the books behind them. And we've also got the Google slide working simultaneously. So I might say to Simon, can you go on to the second slide there, create a new slide, and can you start telling me a little bit about the advantages of using Google? And instantly Simon's put collaboration. Wayne, can you open a new slide for me, please? And can you tell me about the advantages or the things that you like about using video conferencing on Google? And so both students or both members of staff, Si's now invaded Wayne's slide, I think, and vice versa. So you'll have people commenting live. And if I think that there's something worth talking about here, or I want to correct something that somebody's done, I can just annotate it. So then I can move away from them and put my attention into a different student or a different group if necessary. So, okay, so that's one of the things I use. Everybody happy with that so far? Because it can get more complicated. So at the minute, what I've done is I've created a Google slide. The students my students create their own and then share it with me. So it's flipped round. So I've created a set of Google slides. That could be a document, as I said, an Excel document. It could be anything. Well, Excel. What's it called? Sheets. Could be a sheet document. At the same time, I've got images of them working away, so I can check that they're actually working. We have an edict within our policy that says that I want to see them working. I want to visibly see them. And I'm not trying to criticize anybody here, but we've got 3 people who you can't see their images and they're not on video. Could be webcam issues or maybe they're a bit shy. But the 3 people that are on here, if they were students, I can't visibly see that they're there and they're working. And one of the things that an EQA from NCFE picked up recently was that there needed to be kind of an update in plagiarism and sort of the genuine work checker to make sure that there wasn't any malpractice with the parents sitting at the computer typing away for the student. So being able to actually physically see them work is a way of getting around that too, if you've got any problems with that. Okay, now if we wanted to make this go further, it's possible then, and my students can do this, they can now set up their own meets because they have the rights to do that. So it's possible to have a replication, a duplication. We can have a meet there with Wayne and Simon on. We could have another meet with Mark and Gray on the video too, and then their shared slide. So as I'm operating with a group, it's possible for me to have people working in 3s. I guess that's a way of minimizing it. So if you were working in 3s, you could have 3 people on each video, 3 people on each slide. And as you go through, you're effectively seeing exactly what each one's doing at any one time. And the problem comes when it comes to sound, and as you heard earlier on, you get that feedback starting to happen. And also because they can hear each other talking. So there's a little extension you can add to Google Chrome, which allows you to mute or unmute the actual tab. The beauty of that is you're not actually turning your mic off, you're turning the tab off. So if I move to there, that tab still exists. So if I mute that tab, that one, if you see, is still active. So even though that isn't a video, it could have video playing in it. I've got some video here. Again, I could have this one playing. There is clearly no rule being adhered to. So you can see that video playing there. That music, so that sound is still playing, even if I click away from it. Because there's nothing coming. At the same time, I've muted Wayne and Simon. So if I unmute it, Wayne and Si, can you say something? Where you are forced to go on the wrong side of the road. That's not what I'm after. No. What That's it. Okay. I'm going to turn them off quickly so that I don't get feedback. Okay. So that almost covers 2 in 1 there. So the process that I follow when I start on a meeting is quite often to, if they're going to do work, to generate the videos and to generate the slides at the same time, or whatever it is that they're working on. But the beauty of it is, of course, that the students themselves can record it, or I can record each meeting that's going on. So click on this, click record meeting, and you'll see it's just a warning telling you that you've got to tell the students they're being recorded. Wayne and Simon, you're being recorded. You're live on TV. So you can see the minute that turns red, they're being recorded. And then when I finish that, I can stop recording. And where it goes to, after a few minutes, it depends how long the video is, you'll actually get, if I click on Meet here quickly. That's it. Okay, so I've got a Google folder set up for this. Sorry, a folder on my emails. You can see that I've got an email for every single video that's been recorded, and rather than rename them and go through that carry on, I can see instantly what the time and date is of that meeting, so I know that I should have 2 for Tuesday because I've got 2 meetings on with students. And the beauty of that is, of course, once you've done that, you can actually, once this pings through, it may ping through while we're talking, you can then share that entire video with students who weren't there, so they can actually see the entire lesson as it was, including the input from other students, and they can go back and they can revise off that. There are some reasons why potentially you might not want to make that too open, potentially because of safeguarding, but at the minute I don't actually share that video. There's enough in my resources to help them to do the work after the lesson's finished and go back and revise, and I'll come to that in a second. But if I needed to, I could actually share that video. It's also very important from a safeguarding point of view, because if you're working from home, you want to make sure that you've got your back covered and that you're doing exactly what you're meant to be doing. And also, if you have students that have problems, then potentially you've got some record of that too. Okay. So that's one aspect of it. I'm just going to my cheat sheet here, guys. So one of the things I've done, I've realised that sometimes you don't get finished in the time. So you have to give students homework. And this is something Si was alluding to earlier on. Within the Google Classroom, we actually have a folder for homework tasks, as you can see up here in the top left. So what I've done is I've taken to actually setting homework by using a screen recorder. And again, screen recorders come direct from as a Chrome extension. So we can start recording. There's a screen recorder there. You'll see that come up. Okay, so I can record the screen or just the camera. It depends which I want. And I can select the microphone. That gets me voice as well. And the minute I start recording, I could record you guys right now, but I'm choosing not to. It's recording now. I can pause recording. I'm going to drag that out of the way, so that allows me to, first of all, not see Simon. Sorry about that, Si. It's over your face. But it allows me to. What is represented? It allows me to record everything that's happening on the screen. So that's how I've created this video, basically. Okay, so I'm just going to pause recording or stop recording. And you'll see that when that happens, it clicks save. And as I save that, you can see this downloading as a VLC file at the bottom. And when I click on that, it will open. Sometimes takes a little bit longer in VLC. There we go. And there we are. I've got no idea why that says Star Wars Awakens. I think it must have been the last video playing. So you can see this is a live video. I've got you guys right now, but I'm choosing not to. It's recording now. I can pause recording. I'm going to drag that out of the way, so that allows me to, first of all, not see Simon. Sorry about that. Sorry, Si, you've heard that twice now. So the idea is that you've now got a way of recording processes. So it could well be that you want to share information on how to use Google Classroom. And Wayne uses this a lot, I know, how to use Google Classroom or a particular function. It could be even Monitor, our student login system for their sort of personal records. And you might want to set up a video tutorial video. So using extensions on Chrome to be able to create your own sort of little mini tutorial and record it so students can go through it as many times as you like is really handy. So this is an example of one I've done with the students. So Should be working.
By
Okay.
a solid black line on the map.
So this is for outdoor adventure. So what I've done,
You give a group, describe with examples.
I'm going to turn this down a little bit so you can hear me. So you can see I've got maps up there from Adobe. I can also bring up anything that's on your computer you can share. So whether that's Facebook, whether that's Ordnance Survey, whatever it is, whatever you play on your computer normally, you can show to students. So the beauty of it is here, I can identify, I can use editing adaptations within Adobe to be able to circle points that I want students to be able to detect. Okay. So that I found that very, very useful, because connected with that, of course, is the homework sheet that I actually put up there. So they've got a set of questions to answer based on this this presentation, this recorded presentation. Okay. It's also handy. It's also handy for showing and sharing with students some of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. So I use Facebook a lot. I know this isn't Chrome, but the fact that we can use that to share links for the meets, we can use it to share links for any documents that we've uploaded. So our Facebook group is monitored by our safeguarding team, and this kind of helps us to communicate any information. So again, if I've uploaded things to Facebook, these are little posters they've done in a session that were worthy of discussion. And one of the things I find is, especially with COVID at the moment, this is slightly outside of Google, but one of the things I like doing is being able to take pictures of their posters and upload them directly to Facebook. And that in turn allows me to bring it up on the screen in front of the students so they don't have to move around so much, which means that you're avoiding contamination. And it also means that the whole class can see how many times you're standing there with a sheet of paper. The students trying to read it upside down, and the students at the back can't see, especially writing like this. This is Brooks writing. It's a bit slanty. So having this in a big PowerPoint on the whiteboard on the wall is a lot easier to present to. So I use things like that. And because we have outdoor adventure is what it is, of course, it allows us to show motivational pictures of days out that they've had where they've been learning a lot of skills. And the idea of this is that it becomes a talking point and it's a launching pad for a lot of learning, a lot of revision. Okay, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else to say? When I think that's it. Do you remember anything else I was showing, Wayne? Or are you?
No, I think you covered most points there. So you've mentioned how you draw the students in through Google Chat at the beginning of the session, and then you would use breakout rooms during the session to put students into groups, and then how they would be used in each of the groups to work on different assignments. So no, I think you've covered that, and that I think, like you said before, this isn't really that much different how you structure your sessions normally. So there is a lot going on in your sessions. It's just that they just happen to be remote at this point, aren't they?
And it may seem, if you're a bit of a technophobe, or if you're just a little bit worried about using IT, Google's pretty fail-safe. If it doesn't work, turn it off, turn it back on again, and it works. So one of the things I've noticed is where other things might let me down from time to time, certain apps, even the Ordnance Survey system and stuff like that, this is pretty bang on. And once you get used to the idea of doing that thing once with a video and a set of slides or a document, it's just a case of replicating that. And once you use that little extension trick at the top, the little speaker, if you download that extension, there are other ones out there. For instance, there's a one for an auto reader. So if you encourage the students to download that, they can highlight words and text and it'll read out the text to them. So if you're dealing with level 1 learners, you've got a way of getting that information across to them too.
Thank you very much, Richie. Si, I think you've just got a few more things to go through there, and then we can open up for questions.
Okay, fantastic. I'll just quickly share my screen again. So the last two things I was going to talk about was just something there that Richie was talking about really earlier in terms of the trying to use all of your platforms behind your Google Drive and also in your classroom as well. So I'm just going to present. I might start again. See if I can present from present viewer. No. Aha, right, it's gone from the same slide. Fantastic. Had a bit of a worry there. I wasn't going to do that. So the first thing I was going to talk about, first of all, is your Google Drive. This is the engine behind really the classroom. So everything that you send to do in your classroom is always saved on Google Drive. And like Richie was saying there, that when you do any meets and if you record any meets, the Drive will make you a folder and put all of your recordings in there already. Oh, heck, gone up. I was going to show you that. But that's where the recordings all go. And I will show you my, actually, I'll show you mine now, actually. So we go on my Drive. So all my recordings, it's in a folder just on the top there. So the recordings that I've done so far during lockdown, and there they all are, just saved. And then again, if you want to, upload them onto the classroom, or maybe you just want to share them with another member of staff, or perhaps an EV and SV, then obviously they can have access to them as well. Makes it a bit easier to be sharing the work for whoever needs to see it, really. What you can also do as well on Drive is that you can ask some of your learners to share their work with you. So if you want to see, what they're doing, if they're in a class, if they're in an IT room, and you ask them to work on the assignment, and you think, oh, okay, what's he working on? You can say, okay, if it's Mason, you must say, Mason, can you please share your work over with me? And he can share it, and you can see it while he's working on that. One other thing as well we use in the college is your share drives. So every other department has a drive, and these are linked. So if I upload some work in the spot an outdoor fitness drive, everybody linked in that drive can see exactly what I've put on there. So if I put on there like I don't know, my SAR from last year, everybody else like Richie and everyone else can see my SAR from last year, because they might need input in my SAR if they taught on my course. So again, you put something in there and it's all linked up. So coming outside of that then is obviously your classroom. And this is where it's mainly for the teaching and assessment. Your Drive is where, everything seems to be saved and banked and stored. On the face of it is your classroom. And classroom, we tend to use this now for every unit. So if I teach 5 units on my course, every one of those units will have a classroom with all the students in there that I upload work onto it and assignments onto it and feedback and everything else. One of the things I think this is good for is that you can upload assignments directly on the classroom, and every time you upload a piece of work, all of the students get a bit of a ping on the phone to say that Simon's released a piece of work on the classroom. Have a look at it, go on it, have a look at it to see what you've got to do. Students can submit work online. There's no real use of to print any work out now, which obviously saves us cost on paper, ink. Helps the students not to say when you hand your work in, where is it? Oh, my printer's not working. Oh, my ink's, I've got no ink, got no paper. So really, there's no reason why the students can't upload any of their assignments on time. It also allows all of the tutors as well to give, timely feedback to all of the students. We always try and mark assignments work within 14 days. So obviously having that online allows us to have a look at the work and also try and give you feedback as soon as you can, because everything's linked up. As soon as you give feedback, it's then sent back to the students and they can see exactly what you've written. So this is just an example of my classroom. So you can see there that obviously I have a lot of tiles because teach a lot of things. But you'll also see there's a tile there for lead IV folder there for spotting exercise sciences that I will obviously set up in there, and I'll put all of the assessment plans in there, and I'll ask all the all of my staff, all my teachers, to upload all of their assignments in there. All the IV kind of administration is in there as well. So anybody wants to come in like an EV, or if anybody wants to see that, I can share that classroom with them, and they can see all of the assignments on there. They can see all the assessment plans on there. They can see that all the assignments are being IV'd. Again, when you IV some work, it's always has a date stamp on there, has a time stamp on there, so it's reliable and authentic when you send that work off. When you look in a classroom, this is what all the students will obviously see. So I set work, the assignments are on there, and I can see how many it's been assigned to, and just how many, surprisingly enough, how many's handed it in. This was actually, when I made this presentation, the hand-in date wasn't until actually tomorrow. So you can see this is due tomorrow by the hopefully midnight. So what I do is I tend to put some resources on there for them to look at, and then the assignment briefs on there for them to obviously see. What I can do as well as I can put other resources on there that I think doesn't help them, but I think might have a bit of a clue of how to do it, not how to do the assignment, but give as much help as I can, but obviously being fair as well. From that, we can obviously add anybody in the group. So if it's Richie as well who's on that course, I can add him to this unit, or perhaps if he's the IV for this unit, I can add Richie as the IV so that he can see the work, he can sample a piece of work if he wants to as well. And then we've got obviously all the grades on there. After you've marked the work, after you've got all the work in and you've marked it, all of the students will get all of your feedback, which is just there. You can see the work here, so you can upload it, you can have a look at it, you can give them some, this is mainly just your formative feedback. Inside of all of the assignments is obviously a form piece of written feedback, which is on the official forms that we obviously use for BTEC, but that's on there as well. But we would obviously give some little formative feedback comments for them to take away as well. Just have a little, I'm going to quickly show you just how you do that. Apologies for if you already know how to do this, but this is Haroon that I already made. Okay, so this is for the AOC training. How to add all your students? Well, all of the classrooms have a code, so you either post this out to your students on the chat, as we've seen earlier with Richie, or you can actually add all the students in there as well manually, and you can also add teachers on there as well. So if I want to add Richie, so Richard Longstaff, so now he's on my group. And now he's in my class, so he'll have to accept the, well, no, he doesn't have to, but he will have now a bit of a, perhaps an email or message to say that Simon James invited you into his classroom, and then hopefully he'll accept it, and then he can come in my classroom. You can upload work, so we can upload work, so create an assignment there, so you can either have an assignment, or perhaps we can have a quiz, perhaps a question. I'm going to upload a material. So I'm going to upload the presentation that I'm just doing right now. Presentation. So you can add it from your drive. So again, it just goes into the background of your drive. And from there, it normally picks up your recent document you were working on. So this is the recent document that I was working on, which is that one there. So if I insert that, and then if I post it, and that'll be there for all of the students, so everybody in that classroom to see. And there it is right there. Okay, so now I've uploaded that piece of work. Everybody in there will get a ping to say Simon's uploaded some work. If you go in there, have a look at it, try and see what he's got to do. If I want to make an assignment, once you create a new assignment, you can see on there that you can have a due date. Okay, now again, if we hand this into the SV, he'll know when that piece of work has to be submitted for, and so will all the students. So you have the same as you would to have a title. You can also give instructions, say, right, how we're going to assess this piece of work is a report, perhaps it's a presentation, so on and so on. Then you go to add, and then you can just add that from your Google Drive, or you can add it if you've saved it as a file on your PC, or you can add it as a link as well. Okay, I tend to use mine as Google Drive. Most of my work is saved in there, and that'll go to all of your students. One other thing we do as well in terms of the few rooms is we tend to upload a lot of videos. As Richie mentioned earlier, he uploads videos. I upload quite a lot as well for sports coaching. It's one of the units I'm doing this year when the new specification sports coaching. So we try and take as many videos as we can. And I'm just I have the videos. Sorry, I have a screenshot of the classroom here. But I'm going to quickly go into it just to show you exactly what I mean. So this is the unit that I'm going to show you, which is I've uploaded some of the videos on there. So most of the videos that I tend to take on my phone, because on my phone I've got an app into Classroom that I can just upload these videos into. So if I was to click on there, so I upload all these videos onto the Classroom, so all the students can just have a reflection on how their coaching session went. So they can see all these links. They just need to press on the link, and then they'll be able to see themselves coaching. Obviously, I can see them coaching. They can see themselves coaching. And it's just another way, really, just to assess, again, some of the assessment criteria that we need to assess too. Again, these can be file shared with the SV. They can be file shared with other students. I upload them on their drive so that they can have a reflection of their coaching and feedback. Okay, so this was taken. These are the files that were taken last week, and like I said, any video evidence we get, I just upload it straight away on the Classroom, so that they can have a look at what of how they've done. Okay, so I'll see if I can close that. So there's all the links there that I tend to have a look at. So there's loads of videos on there that I could send off to the SV of all of the students doing their coaching. Again, if you do any types of observation assessments, we will upload them as well. But everything which is uploaded here, I might add, is also saved in your Google Drive. On your Google Drive, you should have, I'll go into my drive, you'll have a folder there of saying a Classroom, which is that one there. So anything that you upload on the Classroom is already saved on your Google Drive. So again, if you think it's missing off your Classroom, it's not, because it's always backed up in Google Drive, which is a great thing. So there's the Classroom that I've just uploaded today, made today for the AOC, and I can put some files in there, but if I refresh this, it will also show up on the presentation that I've put on there earlier. It will also show up on my Google Drive.
You go to your classwork AOC Classroom site.
Sorry, which one was that?
Oh, your AOC Classroom just set up.
Yeah.
Tab, and then close that, and go to your stream.
Yeah.
So the stream, it's important that you direct students to classwork, because as I saw there, you can set topics now you didn't used to be able to. Those topics keep everything nice and organised, makes a massive difference. And I've just added a little link there, so if you click on that, and that could be a student messaging you to initiate it. You don't need to do that though, say. So enough of each other's faces today. But if you wanted to, you could have a student initiating a conversation or a Google Meet with you, because they can add comments directly into the Google Classroom. There's also, I think, I don't use this as much, but there's actually within each classroom there's a function to start a meet. But I just tend to go externally through chat when I do it.
Yeah, so that's it there. So that's the meeting link there.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's about it for me and Richie, I think. Wayne, are you tying up, or am I tying up? I don't quite know what they said. Tech Festival.
Yes, I'll just jump in here. Darlington College is running an EdTech Festival on the 22nd and 23rd of October, 9 till 5. We've got 25 speakers. Some are published authors, some are primary schools, secondary schools in FE and HE, who've coming together to discuss their COVID experiences. The keynote speaker on the Thursday is Ty Goddard from the Education Training Foundation, and yeah, it's open to all phases. So if you need any more information, then let me know and I can forward the link.
Thank you very much, Wayne.
Thank you.
And there's just some extra information there if you want to need to get hold of Wayne. I might be able to add mine and Richie's email on there as well, in case you want to talk to me and Richie. And it comes to our final slide in terms of if you have anything you'd like to ask. Any questions? The silence is deadly.
Richie, I was just asking in the chat there if students can do all that setting up for you, rather, with all of your class and all your sort of mini group video calls and documents. Can students do that and then just share with you?
Yes, yeah. That's what I said. That my students can do that now. But when you first work with the group, say level 1 group, it's certainly going to be more tutor-led, but you're likely to have less students too, so that's less likely to be a problem. Mm-hmm. My students, they were learning online in March. The minute that we went into lockdown, I had to keep the ball rolling with them anyway. I'll go into the details, but it was necessary to, because a lot of their course was actually quite practical with it being outdoor adventure, and so we had to find adaptations to try to get them to sort of improvise delivery of a session by talking through session plans and things like that. So they're really, really good at it. I mean, I would go so far as to say if I left 2 or 3 of them with this system for 5 minutes, they'd come out with things I've never thought of. You know what kids are like. So yeah.
We did have a worry at the start about students creating meets and the like, and around safeguarding, but we do keep track of the meets that are created. You can see who created the meet, who was in the meet, and how long it was on for. And when we've looked at those audits, students aren't using it to create their own meets outside of classrooms, so we're quite happy with that.
Just had a question there about forms. I personally don't tend to use much Google Forms. Does anybody else? Richie, do you use that much at all or not?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I was actually reading Gray's question at the same time I was listening to you.
Yeah, sorry, someone's just put a question on there about do we use Google Forms. Personally, I don't.
Nah, we were trained by Wayne, and I think it must have been about two or 3 years ago now, Wayne, maybe more than that.
Yeah.
I think the problem is whenever you're doing things like multi-choice questions and stuff like that, using the form to create something which is quite permanent and something which is a great resource for the future, but it's actually only going to be used for a very short amount of time sometimes, becomes quite labour intensive. Wayne, as an expert of that kind of stuff, might be able to knock one up very quickly, but I tend to find, so for instance, the other day, I got caught out with time, and while the students are watching a video about upthrust, and there's another one about Hooke's law and equipment and facilities for the outdoor topics, because they had to learn to do with materials and what the properties of materials were, I actually was able to, while they were watching the video, I was knocking up a set of questions, and then I issued that as an assignment, and then I gave them 15 minutes to go away and answer those questions while I went and researched the next question in the next video. So it can be, you don't get the chance to do that in the classroom, do you?
Yeah. No.
You set a task away and you don't sit and do the prep while you're actually watching a video, because it just lent itself to that. It was very, very quick and very easy to do.
Yeah. I think different departments across the college are using forms in different ways. And I think there's so many other tools that you can use instead. So instead of forms, you could be using quizzes, or you could be using Socrative, or you could be using other things that have more educational benefit and more analysis that you can carry out around them. So we do use forms for form taking, as you would expect. So a lot of our paper forms are now Google Forms based. So in business and computing, for instance, our IV process is all forms based. So we don't have any paper at all. It's all done through a Google Form and Google Sheets. But we do still use it for assessment for learning, when we will use it for what's the word I'm looking for? The like mock exams and the like. So as we're going through and doing summative assessments, we tend to be using Socrative, Kahoot, and those types of online quizzes, which is my favorite one. And then as the summative, once we've done that formative, but the summative one we tend to do as a Google form, because that is ours. Then that's within the college.
Sorry, I don't understand.
I get that all the time.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I get to turn her off. Yeah.
Right, that's fantastic. Thank you so much to all three of you. I think that's been really interesting. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. It is 5 o'clock, so in the interests of letting people get away, we will stop the webinar there. But if you do have any more questions, you can certainly email them directly to Wayne, or you can contact myself, and I can pass those on and get you some answers. So please do that. Thank you very much, and we will leave it there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Most welcome. Thank you.